And I'd like to introduce John and Dawn Spindler, who will introduce our session for today.
Well, good morning again, and welcome to our fourth in a series of 6 classes titled Horse Country. Today, we are joined by our speaker, Dr. Regina Esterman, owner and manager of the Haile Equestrian Center in Gainesville. She has an AS degree in horse science from the Ohio State University Agricultural Technical Institute, a bachelor's degree in equine science from Colorado State University, master's degree in reproductive physiology, and a PhD in animal molecular and cellular biology from the University of Florida. Regina began showing horses in 4-H and Pony Club in Ohio, taking entries to the Ohio State Fair twice. She was on the polo team at Colorado State University and interned at the Royal Vista Equine Reproductive Center. She opened Haile Equestrian Center in 2011. Today, Regina and her husband also operate 2 additional farms in the Gainesville area that are home to around 100 horses. So please join me in giving a welcome to Dr. Esterman today.
All right, so good morning. I hope I can give you some entertaining horse information this morning. Just a little overview of what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to kind of tell you how it all started for me and how I found myself so deep in the horse business here. I'll share with you a little bit about growing up in 4-H and Pony Club and what a tremendous value those organizations have to our youth. I'll tell you a little bit about my education, how I got started in some of these businesses while I was in graduate school. And then, tell you more about the Haile Equestrian Center, which is our primary thing that we do now. So how it all began, I'm not really sure where to start. I'm not sure where I got bitten by the horse bug, but I would say a lot of people will tell you it's genetic, and I guess that would follow me. My mom was a horse person, not quite as deep into it as I found myself now, but she definitely introduced me to horses at a young age. But she would tell you, and I'll tell you, I was just obsessed with horses as a child. Anything that I could learn or do with horses, that's all I wanted to do. My mom started me in horseback riding lessons at 5, but she has pictures of me in birthday parties I don't even remember, where they rented ponies and walked them down our little subdivision with us on them. And apparently I didn't want to get off, and so this whole thing started pretty early for me. So when I was in school, any kind of horsey spin I could put on any kind of assignment I was given, that's what I did. And I think, at least in this business now, I certainly recognize lots of kids that I see that, are me as a child, which is very exciting. I was an extreme collector of model horses. You'd walk into my bedroom and the walls were just lined with them. And I don't think my mom ever visits me down here in Florida without threatening to deliver many large boxes full of those to my doorstep someday, that I've so kindly left in her attic storage. But one of the biggest, parts of my childhood that I really enjoyed was 4-H. I grew up mostly in Ohio, and it was Summit County, which is just a little south of Cleveland, and they just have an absolutely phenomenal horse program. Even the surrounding counties didn't have what they had there, and 4-H is almost predominantly volunteer based. So we just had some really extremely dedicated people and parents that made this all happen for us. We had weekly meetings. As I grew up through 4-H, I was able to take on different leadership roles. They had a phenomenal camp every summer where we would get to take our horses to the fairgrounds and camp out there for a week, and they'd bring in all of these clinicians for us to take lessons with. As you had, advanced in the ages of 4-H, they had a junior leaders club, and their primary task was to run this horse camp. So I feel like I got a lot of valuable horse experience and life experience in those 4-H programs. The highlight of my year was always the county fair. The Summit County Fair had over 100 kids brought horses to the fair. We stayed for a whole week. We camped out there. We'd have different divisions that we showed in. They had just so many extra things that we could do that were just so special and made just such a huge impact on me. Um, we had a horse bowl team, which is just like a little quiz bowl for horse trivia. And I remember every Wednesday night we would all meet at somebody's house, and there was an older lady who coached us. She didn't have kids in the program or anything, but she just stayed so dedicated to that program. And I remember we got to go to the regional level and the state, and it was just such a fun thing. And I feel like I've got some good horse facts in me that have stuck with me through my life, and probably made my education a little easier as I went forward. They offered all kinds of horse shows. They had just your standard just go show English or Western or barrel race. They hosted dressage shows. They had a process by which you could, qualify to go to the state level, which I got to do a couple of times. In my last couple of years of 4-H, I was able to breed my mare and have a baby. And, I was able to take that baby to show at the fair, and just a lot of really, really fun experience. Another thing I was really involved with as a kid was the Pony Club. It's the United States Pony Club. It's a nationally recognized, very well respected system. And what makes it pretty different from 4-H is 4-H can vary so much from county to county, state to state. But Pony Club has this very well respected rating system. And there's all these milestones you have to reach, and they have testings that you can do periodically through your years going through the Pony Club. And if somebody, today applies for a job, working with us at the Haile Equestrian Center, and they tell me that they have they achieved a certain rating in the Pony Club, that's very meaningful. They don't give those ratings out easily. And, somebody who, completed the steps to get to a high rating there is, it's a very good resume builder if you're in this industry. It was definitely a more advanced, riding and training times. Compared to 4-H. 4-H was very fun, and you got out of it what you put into it. You didn't have to be a strong rider necessarily to go in and enjoy 4-H. And Pony Club, certainly welcomed beginners as well, but we had the opportunity to train with more advanced people. I was growing up in Ohio, where we had a lot of snow, which prevents you from, it didn't prevent me from riding because I went out and rode in the snow, but for more serious training and riding, most people don't have an indoor riding arena at their house. So every other week during the winter, we hauled to a facility where they did have an indoor that we could use and had our lessons. And we did them every week in the summer. And my parents would, take me and my horse to these other locations and be able to ride at facilities that had more jumps and cross-country jumps, which, if you're not familiar, is like a more natural obstacle, like jumping over logs and things like that, things that don't fall down if you hit them, which adds some complexity to it. So Pony Club as a whole is an eventing or cross-country, jumping based program. The term eventing means that you are competing in 3 different things: cross-country jumping, dressage, and stadium jumping. So more specialized than 4-H. And so I did all of that through my youth. And as I was in my final 2 years of high school, I had the opportunity to do dual enrollment. And it wasn't a big thing to do in our area, but when I heard about the opportunity and figured I could, get out of those last 2 years of high school and jump ahead a little bit, I was pretty excited about that. And then when I started looking into what my options were, there were a number of colleges in our area that offered dual enrollment. And when I discovered that one of them could be in a horse program where I would be taking 50% of my classes would have the word horse in the title, I was pretty thrilled about that. I think my parents might have preferred I go to one of the other schools, but I was able to dual enroll there. And it was a very different program than where I would find myself being educated in the future. Most of the people that were in this program were in a 2-year program, and the goal after they finished it was to go out and be a farm manager or train horses or give riding lessons. So it was much more hands-on, management type program. They did offer 2 tracks: a horse science, which was intended for you to do their program and then transfer to main campus of Ohio State and finish a bachelor's degree, and then they had this associate of applied science, which I wasn't in, but I got all the benefits of being in those very hands-on classes. And I think this is where I really gained my interest in breeding horses and all the reproductive physiology, aspect of the industry. The program there was very intensive. You definitely worked there when you went to school there. Most of your key classes had a mandatory practicum that went with it. And so you'd spend, the first third to half of your day out at the farm, just really digging into the doing of everything that you're learning in the classes. They even had a standard bred racehorse training class there where we learned how to, drive the buggy racing horses, which was really neat. I don't know if there's anything like that even exists anymore. But the reproduction stuff was definitely where I was super interested. They had a partnership with a thoroughbred breeder, and we probably pulled out 50 mares every season, and bred them back. And every student was responsible for keeping all of the breeding records on every mare. So I remember having this big notebook where I could tell you exactly what size follicle or what day any horse ovulated, and we brought our book with us to our exams, and answered questions based off of our records that we kept. And just a very different program than what you see at the big research universities. Not that Ohio State's not one, but this was a satellite campus that was really dedicated to teaching the boots on the ground management of animals. They did horses, cattle, pigs, all kinds of stuff there. But I really enjoyed my time at ATI, so much so that when they told me that I was going to have to go back to high school to take a government class and gym, but and I wouldn't be able to do full time at the college the next year, I said, well, I'll just go to summer school. So I went to high school, summer school between my 2 years to make sure that I didn't miss out on anything that they had to offer class wise in this program. And I was able to finish the program concurrent with my high school graduation. It was kind of an interesting predicament at the end. They said that I couldn't walk through graduation because you can't graduate from college before you graduate from high school. And my high school graduation was about a month out from when the semester ended at ATI. So I was like, oh, well, there was a horse show that day anyway. So I enjoyed going to the horse show and got my degree and moved on. So after that, I convinced my parents to let me move out to Colorado State. Obviously a big research university, tons of classes, things I really enjoyed. I said, well, don't worry about the fact that if you gave me a transfer credit for that one, I want to take it again. And I got to, just get a whole new, professors, teaching on a lot of the same things that I had learned at ATI. I'm not sure where they stand right now, but I know at the time they were the leading equine science program in the United States. And that's what drew me there. And they have always been, one of the leaders in equine reproductive research and technologies. All of the latest stuff comes out of there. Really, really cool things they're doing there. And that's what really drew me to wanting to be there. When I moved out there, I literally didn't know a soul. I was only 17. I remember having to get a permission slip to go on a field trip from my parents. But I really enjoyed my time in Colorado. The people were so nice. The program was excellent. Even during my time in Florida, before I started the Haile farm, I always said I'd move back to Colorado in a heartbeat. I really enjoyed it. I was able to participate in the polo team there, which was something I had never done before. They have a really cool program where it's all student run. They keep something like 30 or 40 polo ponies. They care for them all themselves. And the more advanced members of the polo team dedicate their time to teaching beginners like I was when I went in. And it wasn't an inexpensive thing, which is how it funded the feeding of all of them. But it was something different and very, very cool experience there. In my second year out at Colorado State, I also had an opportunity to do an internship at a place called Royal Vista Equine. They're one of the top places in the country to take your horse for advanced reproductive techniques outside of the universities. So they do just tons and tons of embryo transfers. They stand a bunch of stallions that are collected and everything there. And they have this neat model where it was husband and wife team, and The wife was a veterinarian, and the husband was not, but he had, all of the same type of skills needed to, be in that business. So the first half of the day was dedicated to the client horses and the veterinarian work. And then the afternoon, they kept a huge herd of recipient mares, which are mares that are, of less genetic value, and they receive embryos from more valuable horses, and then they carry those foals to term. And it was just absolutely fascinating, watching this, volume of reproductive stuff going on there. I learned a ton there. I wish I could have spent more time there, but I was creeping up on my graduation date and it was time to move. But I cannot tell you enough how wonderful of an experience I had out at Colorado State, and what a great program they have out there. From there, I found myself at the University of Florida. One of my favorite professors at Colorado State had a grad school friend that was a professor here, and she encouraged him to recruit me to come and be his graduate student in the animal sciences department. And while I've been a horse person from the start, they convinced me that I should come to graduate school in cattle reproductive physiology. They told me, oh, well, come to school here and all your classes will be the same, but you'll be working with cattle instead of horses. Cattle have more research money behind them as a food animal than horses, which tend to be a recreational animal. So I said, okay, let's do it. I was very, very interested in the reproductive aspect. And I was more interested in reproduction than nutrition, whereas I probably could have had an opportunity to do, equine nutrition or cattle reproductive physiology. And I chose the reproduction. So I had a great experience in my master's. My mentor had me teaching all kinds of labs, which was good to, get me out of my shell. I think I was a little shy when I was at Colorado State, and I probably needed to kind of get kicked into, doing some teaching and stuff. So I got really good at it by the end of my time in my master's and my PhD program. Obviously, we had a heavy research load. We worked at all of the beef units in the Gainesville area. Most of my research was comparing Angus versus Brangus type cattle and how they responded to estrus synchronization systems, which, just a long story short, is just using hormones to manipulate their reproductive cycles so that a very large number of cattle are ready to be bred on the same day. Because when you have cattle that live out in, huge herds on large amounts of pasture, it's a lot of work to get them up to a working facility and breed them. And so we're able to, just see the cow 3 or so times up in the working facility, breed them all over, you can either do a single timed breeding or get a little bit better results if you do it over about 2 days. And those programs, depends on what you're doing, but you end up with about half of those cows pregnant, all on the same day. And the reason that is important is when cattle all get pregnant on the same day, it makes more of the calves heavier, and weigh more, and you get paid more for them when you wean them the next year. So most cattle producers are not going to say, oh, this one's old enough to wean today and we're going to wean it and sell it today. They say, okay, this is the date that we're going to wean, and all or most of the calves are going to be weaned this day, and this is the day that we wean them, this is the day that we sell them, and however much they weigh this day is how much we get paid. So it's a way to optimize getting more heavier calves on the sale day. And also anytime you introduce AI, you have the opportunity to expand to better genetics than you would necessarily have access to with the bulls on your farm. So so that's my research in a moment there for what I did at the University of Florida. But I still always loved those horses, and I did bring 2 horses with me when I moved to Gainesville. And I found pretty quickly that there were pretty limited options in the area for boarding horses. I found a young lady that had a farm when I first moved here, and I worked on her farm in the afternoons after I was done with my school commitments. And I worked off my board on my 2 horses that I brought with me. but it didn't take long for me to realize there weren't a lot of options in the area. And I think having a lot of college students in the area, there's a lot of, here today, gone next year kind of boarding operations that I've seen over the years I've been here. Turns out that the girl that I worked off my board with had an opportunity to sell her farm about 6 months after I moved here. And I was, looking for a place for my horses. And one of the other graduate students in the animal science department had a little farm rented over in Archer. And she just had her horse there. She said, "Oh, bring yours, help me a little bit." And, we got over there, started doing that. And she said, "Well, by the way, I'm graduating in a few months, and the landlord will be looking for a new, person to rent this little farm." And I said, "Oh, that sounds perfect." So there kind of begun my first little business venture, which is not so little today. But my goal was just to take on, a few other horses boarded for other people to just cover the cost of my own. I think when I was in graduate school, I was on a teaching assistantship, and I had a tuition waiver, which was amazing. And I believe my stipend was $12,000 a year to live off of, which is perfectly doable, but maybe not to pay for some horses on top of it. So that was my goal. Let's board a few horses just to make sure I can pay for my own. I remember when I drug one of my non-horsey roommates out to a horse expo that they had over in Jacksonville. And when you go to those sort of things, a lot of times there's raffles and things to enter. And, I had her putting her name and everything, double our chances of winning. And she won a breeding to a stallion. And she's like, "Well, I'm not even a horse person. What am I going to do with this?" And she of course gave it to me. And well, what do you do if you win a breeding? You've got to go buy another horse. So we bought this brood mare. And we, started breeding these Oldenburg horses. And the lady that I bought the mare from was extremely kind to me and my friends at the time, and mentored us and kind of what all this means. And so I feel like I got a really cool education out of just purchasing a horse from someone that has led to so much more for me in the future. So we started breeding these Oldenburg horses. If you're not familiar, an Oldenburg is a type of warm blood. They are bred to kind of a dual purpose. There's different lines for different purposes, but they're primarily for dressage and jumping. And so we started breeding, one or two of these a year. I got connected with a great veterinarian who assisted us with, the ultrasounding and, the breeding, the work behind the veterinary side of breeding. She's still my veterinarian to this day. We also started just buying and training up and reselling some horses. It was really a venture of myself and some of my grad school horsey friends. And so we would purchase these, inexpensive, untrained horses, train them and, list them for sale. And when they were sold, we would just reinvest and, buy more project horses. And it was very fun. I was able to provide horses for my friends to ride while we were all in school. And it's a good thing for us, and it's a good thing for the horses too. I feel like any horse we've ever taken on in that way, we kind of take them from a lesser situation, lift them up with good training and get them into a really fantastic home. So it's just a win-win-win all around. We don't do quite as much of that anymore. We still do a little bit, but it's definitely a very rewarding part of the horses. After 2 years of renting that first farm, we moved to a larger facility. It was about 3 times the size of the one that we started with. We were boarding more horses. We had taken on a few more mares. And so we had, babies that we were raising, and everything was, going good. And I was just cruising along through, I don't know if cruising is the right word, working hard through graduate school, doing all of this, as I go. So as I, finished my master's, my advisor convinced me that I should stay on for a PhD. And this time it was through the Animal Molecular and Cellular Biology program. It's an interdisciplinary program across many of the colleges. There were a handful of us in the animal sciences department. A very cool program. With some, I was able to get a fellowship through them to fund my PhD program, which is a huge blessing. I was able to continue in similar reproductive physiology research under the same advisor, but it was a much more challenging program. The coursework was quite different from my previous program. We were really diving into all of the molecular biology. I guess at the time I was getting through it to get through it, and turns out it all became very useful to me, later. I won't touch on that too much in my horse talk today, but I do some consulting for high complexity molecular biology testing. I did quite a bit up at one of the labs in the Progress Park in Alachua. And then I did some consulting traveling around last year, just optimizing PCR testing. So I did use my degree both in the reproductive physiology and the molecular biology side. And I very much enjoy the horses and the lab work. So as I was finishing my PhD program, an opportunity presented for the land that was, it is now the Haile Equestrian Center. It was such a, life, gives you such interesting opportunities, and it's interesting how we come across them. I had used the same horseshoer from the time I first moved here. And he, of all of his customers, he decided to tell me about this opportunity. And if you can follow this little chain of people, he was a horseshoer, and he was in a good old boys club with somebody who rode motorcycles with the owner of the Village Jeweler, Mike Thibault. And Mike Thibault was on the board of directors for the Haile Village Homeowners Association. And he and another gentleman had recently come on the board and learned about the horse pasture. And they basically said, whoa, you're telling me that we have a piece of property with no one in charge, no one maintains the fences, you're in a school zone, and you're uninsurable because of the ownership. It was jointly owned by 3 different homeowners associations. And I think the media kind of portrayed them as horse haters, but that wasn't it at all. They were just concerned of the liability that their residents were opened up to by having this property with nobody in charge, the fences falling down. And while it had some horses out there and the community enjoyed seeing the horses, they were worried about the liability of it. So they said, well, we need to, maybe we can find somebody who will really do something with this property, and in that process we'll pass the liability to someone else as well. So I was able to be connected with Mike Thibault through my farrier in that chain of people, and they asked me to come talk to them and kind of pitch a proposal to them of if they were interested in doing this, what would I do with the farm. And so I went and gave a presentation to them, and I just described the different services that I would offer and how I would suggest laying out the land there with the buildings and the arenas and things that would be needed to support those services. And it was quite a process. I think it was over 6 months from start to finish. They had me go around, and the property was jointly owned by the 3 homeowners associations in Haile Plantation, and so they had me give my presentation to each of them. And eventually, we did come to a long-term lease agreement on the property in February of 2011. And they told me that this was the only thing that the 3 homeowners associations had ever unanimously agreed on, which was exciting. So to make this all happen, the 2 homeowners associations had to give up their interest in the property, give it to one homeowners association so that it could be cleanly, leased to us. So we got the lease signed, and there was I don't know if anyone's familiar with what the property looked like before. Beautiful piece of property, just not a lot there. The fencing at the time we started was over 30 years old, and it just was in great need of repair. We were able to make a lot of repairs and repaint that got us through the first few years, and then we've started just tearing out and completely rebuilding the fences. We're about 50% right now. I was very fortunate to be able to do a part-time postdoc while I was building up the Equestrian Center. One of the members of my committee, excuse me, asked me to come work for him and his wife in their labs while so I was putting on my lab coat in the morning and doing PCR testing. And then early afternoon, I was done with my commitments there, and I was pulling out old garden plots and fixing fence and making plans for buildings and getting all of this stuff ready for the Equestrian Center to open. We opened in August of 2011. We started with riding lessons and things like that, and we were ready for our first full-time summer camp in 2012. and everything just worked out great. The professor couple that I was working for, they took positions at another university and moved right around that time. So I was able to help them wrap up their stuff, and then I was free in the horse business. Um, so all the while, we never stopped, running the Eclipse Sport Horses farm. Once we signed the lease for the Haile farm, we knew we would be in the area long term. So we purchased our own place instead of leasing farms. We purchased over in Archer with a little 17-acre farm just to move our existing, customers and everything there. We were able to, expand our boarding services. We were able to slowly grow the number of brood mares. These type of horses can be quite expensive, and they're just not in my budget to purchase. So we started, retaining some of the young fillies to raise up, and now we are on some of our third generation of babies being born this year, which is very rewarding to see, the quality of the horses coming through. We had the opportunity to purchase a second facility over in Archer in 2015. It's not often that a big piece of property comes up for sale a quarter of a mile away. So that was quite a beast of a project to get done, but we were able to get it purchased. It was just blank farmland that had been growing peanuts. We're still doing the building that we want to this day, but it's been a very functional facility for several years now. And my whole philosophy on really all of these businesses is, earn what we can, reinvest and repeat. Everything that we've built and had these businesses is all things we've earned and reinvested. I remember when I was in graduate school getting ready to rent that first farm, thinking, oh, I've got a budget for a wheelbarrow. Can I afford that wheelbarrow? And so it's rewarding to look back and see that we've spent wisely and invested in these farms over and over. So I just want to tell you a little bit about kind of what we do over at the Haile Equestrian Center, and kind of where we started and what we've got going now, and how I just try to keep making this place better and better. We started with and still offer, riding lessons. We teach all ages. We recommend that they be around 5 years old to get started. That's not a rule. We're happy to teach them younger, but 5 tends to be the age when they have the attention span to really get the full benefit of that hour-long lesson. Everybody who comes out for riding with lessons with us, they all learn how to get their own horses ready to ride. We have plenty of help for them, but we don't hand them ready to go horses. I think it's really important that they learn how to get their horses ready, and what it takes to take care of these horses. So they all ages, lots of little kids, we get really busy, especially in the afternoons with the kind of after school crew. We have a lot of college students that ride with us, being so close to UF and Santa Fe. We have adults, they like to come out here in the times that the kids are not here. And then we even have a handful of retired people who ride out here with us. So really all ages come out and enjoy the program. We're multidisciplinary. We have 6 instructors that work with us, and they all have different backgrounds, different disciplines they've ridden in, different teaching styles. When people get started out with us, we really encourage them to read the bios, take a lesson with a couple people, and see who you like best. And most people like to stick with the same teacher or 2 after that. Our scheduling is really flexible. We're open 7 days a week. The horses all have a scheduled day off, and none of our staff work 7 days a week except for me and my husband. But we're able to keep this place pretty open while still making sure the horses get the downtime they need, and that all of our staff have their days off that they want. So another big thing we do out here is summer camps. We offer traditional camps, just when you think of sending your kid to horse camp, we offer that. We offer a full day and half day version. We also offer what we call a future equestrian camps, which is for 5 and 6 year olds. Definitely a lot more work on our end. We have to have extra staff ready they can be a little bit like herding cats. And with horses and kids, safety. We need a lot of eyes on them all the time. So we offer that. And then we also offer advanced camps, which are camps where they really come out and just ride. They have multiple themed lessons every day. We bring in multiple instructors for them through the week. So as I built up these camps, I all my favorite parts of 4-H and Pony Club reappear in these camp activities. And I feel like our camp really is very different than a lot of the other camps in the area. We have a lot of unique experiences we offer them. About 3 years ago, we also started offering what we call excursion camps. We started with just a horseback riding and excursion camp where they ride every day on the farm, but we also take them on 2 to 3 field trips every day to different places around the Gainesville and Ocala area. Different horse farms, vet clinics, places like that, getting to see different breeds of horses. There's so many places that are fortunately very welcoming of our group and showing us their facility and their horses. We expanded that a little bit last year. We purchased our own 15-passenger van instead of just renting them for the times that we need in the summer. So now we offer excursion camps most weeks of the summer, but they're not all horse camps anymore. We do an animal adventure camp where it's all field trips, all related to animals all week. We do a vet excursion camp, same thing. Just all field trips, but all veterinary related. And then we have one outdoor adventure camp that's not horse or animal related at all, just going out zip lining and airboats and, things like that. So we keep this place pretty darn busy in the summertime. Another big service that we offer is pony birthday parties. It is very uncommon for a weekend to go by that there's not at least 1, 2, or 3 of these happening at the farm. They're very exciting to me because it gets a bunch of young kids, introduced to horses that, a lot of them come out and tell us they've never ridden a horse before when they come to these parties. We do everything based on packages, so it can be really affordable to come out and do them. We have people that bring out small groups of just, a child and her, 4 or 5 friends. And we've seen some huge groups. Like the largest party we ever did was for a 1-year-old, and it was like a giant family reunion. I mean, caterers, face painters, just crazy. It was fun. We do the basic, pony rides and, rec room, but we have some things they can add on, like horseshoe painting, and they painting a live pony, which some people think, oh no, the pony must hate that, but I promise you they enjoy it very much. They love the attention and the bubble bath that comes afterwards. We do piñatas and stuff like that too. We also offer what we call casual horseback rides. We wanted to be able to offer a service to anyone who wanted to just come out and experience riding a horse, but wasn't interested in, a regular riding lesson program. With, insurance regulations these days, you pretty much won't find anywhere that allows you to rent a horse. So we don't do anything like that. And it's very difficult to get insurance for a trail riding type experience. And we are, surrounded by homes here. So we don't offer either of those, but this is the closest thing that we do offer. We've got our staff right there. We're able to make it really safe while still allowing, just the general public to come out and enjoy a horse for 30 minutes or an hour. And we are open for visitors, and we encourage visitors. People can come out anytime during our regular business hours. They can bring out carrots, they can feed the horses, pet the horses. There's no charge for that. I feel like the horses really enjoy it. I feel like the horses, the horses here work a lot, but they don't work hard. This is a really good semi-retirement job for a horse. A lot of the horses that we have here came from, show careers and, more intensive jobs. And then so they have a lot of training, but they're ready for something a little easier. And this is kind of a perfect fit for that. So it's kind of a win-win all around. But I feel like if the horses knew that there were people wanting to come and bring carrots in and feed them, and I said no, I think they would be pretty upset with me. So we welcome visitors with their bags of carrots. We do a little bit of horse boarding. We do a lot of horse boarding at our Eclipse Sport Horses location. We don't have a lot of extra space at the Haile Equestrian Center, so we do just a little bit of boarding for area residents and college students. We also take students out to different offsite events. We take them out to horse shows, and those can be, we take them out to like jumping type shows, we take them out to dressage type shows, and we just brought on a very cool staff member who you'll get to meet next week on Zoom here. And she has gotten a bunch of our kids interested in barrel racing. So we are actually this Saturday taking our first group of students out to like a youth barrel race over in Williston. They are very excited. And I'm looking forward to watching them enjoy that. So another thing that we go out to pretty frequently is a hunter pace. If you're not familiar with that term, it's essentially it's a ride where you go out on a certain distance course, essentially. The ones we go to are 7 miles long, and they have cross-country jumps along the way. But the way that we sign the kids up, we sign them up for the jumping optional. So really any of the kids can participate as long as they feel confident riding their horses in a more open area outside of an arena. And we tell them to think of it as a really nice trail ride. And for us, this is a much safer type experience, taking them out to these versus going to a state park or a trail ride. There's lots of people working. There's other people, participating. So if you get into a pickle, there's lots of help around during these 100 paces. We go to those about once a month, and it's probably, if you ask some of the students out here, they'd probably tell you that was one of their favorite things. We also take students out to cross-country schooling venues, and we're fortunate to be so close to Ocala where there are many of those. But basically places where you pay a schooling fee and the kids can go jump around the different cross-country jumps. We send a coach with them and make it like an educational session. So we also do some other on-site events. If you haven't heard about us before, our most popular event of the year is a Halloween event. We dress the horses up in costumes, and it's a free event to the public. We hand out candy. We have little activity stations and stuff, and we really enjoy that. We feel like it. At least a couple times a year, we want to have an event out here that offers, free pony rides and things that anybody can come out and enjoy. Our open houses are similar. We usually do those about once a year. We had our first and best open house ever about 2 weeks before the world heard about COVID. So we got this huge influx of people and then shut down. So we'll do it again in a big way here pretty soon. And then we work with a lot of Girl Scout groups and things like that to help them get their horseback riding badge. And we really enjoy just different groups coming out and enjoying the horses with us. We started something new in 2019 that we call our membership program. And my goal with this was to get the kids just a little bit more involved with horses than just showing up for a riding lesson once a week. And the kids, they wanted more than just, that one time a week coming out for an hour of riding. And we really wanted to try to, set our program apart from others and really add value to what we were doing out here. And so the way we do that is the price of the membership is just the discounted price of the lessons that they receive in it every month. So we hope they feel like they're getting a discount in exchange for their consistency. And then everything else I'll tell you about is all essentially free when they're a member. So we do a monthly horsemanship workshop. It's just like a little class once a month with a different topic where they come out and just hopefully learn something about horses that they hadn't learned before. They don't ride in it, but it is very hands-on. There's, we have the horses out and they're learning how to take their pulse and their temperature, or learning about the different gaits and all different things. We do some that are more simplistic for the younger kids and some that are more advanced, to hopefully make sure all ages enjoy those. We do monthly socials that are a little more geared towards the kids. The kids have given us some pretty good ideas for some of these over the years. We had a baby shower for a horse a few months ago. We've had days where we've had them build horse charcuterie boards and then take them around the farm, feeding them. One of our instructors came up with an idea to do a horsey speed dating that was all about kind of secretly teaching them how to recognize different colors and markings of horses, which was pretty fun. And just things like that. And the kids have planned a wedding between two horses that's going to happen next Friday at 5:30. So that'll be a first for me, but the kids are very excited about it. And it is two of our long time lesson horses. They're both quite older. So that's happening next week. We also take the kids on a monthly field trip. We're so fortunate to be in an area where we've got so many horse events happening just year round. So we just pick one of those each month to take them out to. We do volunteer days at the farm where they help us give horses baths, paint jumps, things like that. And then starting next month, we're trying to give the parents a date night opportunity, essentially, where they can drop the kids off here for a few hours. And I'm gonna introduce them to all the horse movies that I have always loved through my childhood, and they can introduce me to some of the ones I haven't seen that are more recent. So I know I'm getting tight on my time, so I'll speed through my next few here. a couple years ago, we started doing home shows. We do them once a quarter out here. Spectators are certainly welcome. Offsite shows are really fun, but it can be really expensive. No matter how we dice it, we're certainly not trying to get rich taking kids to horse shows, but it's just an expensive thing to go do. So with these home shows, we can make it very affordable so everyone can participate. We order in really nice prizes, ribbons, trophies. We bring in outside judges, so it's all very fair. We bring in a sound system. They've got their teachers coaching them just like they would if it were a horse show, and really gives us kids something to work towards. And we've really enjoyed doing these. Our next one is coming up in March. Like I said, spectators are always welcome to those. And then the last thing I'll tell you about that we do at the Equestrian Center is we do ride and wine nights for our over 21 members of the community can come out and enjoy these. A lot of our customers come out and enjoy them. We do them the first Friday of every month. They basically go out for an hour ride. If they're normal customers of ours, they can ride to their riding ability. And if they're people who haven't ridden with us before, it's structured similar to those casual horseback rides where we've got staff right there with them. And then after that, we do a wine and charcuterie, social. It's supposed to be an hour, but it never is an hour. We're always out here pretty late. Everybody seems to really enjoy those. And we do some extra ones around Valentine's Day as well. And then, we still have everything going over at the Eclipse Sport Horses location. We've continued to grow everything that we've always done. We always have at least, 30 plus horses boarded out there. We now have 12 to 14 mares having babies each spring. The farm over there is not public, like the Haile farm is, but we certainly welcome visitors. So, if anybody who wants to call and say, hey, we want to come see some baby horses, we're always open to that. And we've expanded some services. We now offer some young horse raising where people can purchase babies from us and they can stay on our farm being boarded at a very reasonable price. So we raise them, and we have handling programs. We do a little bit of layup care for injured horses where if they just need to kind of get out of Wellington or Ocala, where it's very expensive to keep horses, or it can be. We have good spots where they can just recover from their injuries and get the care they need. So, and we've started with some on-site housing as well. We're as of this week, we just finished another one, and we have 4 apartment units that are for employees or owners of horses that just want to be out there closer to their horses. So. Some of the little challenges are I guess they're probably not little challenges that, that kind of come with the territory of these type of businesses is, very high overhead, property is expensive. Our biggest cost, of course, is feed. It can be shocking the difference in what it costs to take care of one horse versus the one standing next to them. They have different metabolisms, and some horses are shockingly inexpensive to feed, and some of them are shockingly expensive to feed. So just lots of overhead. Owning a business like this, it's always going to be long hours. Never really a day off. My husband and I, we kind of say we have to get out of town if we want a day off, because if we're here, they're calling us. So just the nature of an animal related business, they don't close for the holidays. It's the service industry, so you'll always have great customers and ones that can be more challenging. And I think one of the bigger challenges is that, the horses must be productive. This is a business. And if we want to stay in business, we can't have, 50 horses living out here that aren't interested in doing their jobs, so that can be tough, to make the call on, okay, this horse really isn't working out for us. It doesn't mean anything bad happens to them. It takes a very, very special horse to be a part of a lesson type program. They have to be extremely well behaved, and they have to want to do the job. If they don't want to, you're not going to make them. And just because a horse doesn't work out for us doesn't mean it can't go be a great horse for a family. So but that is can be a challenge, is having to part with horses that are not working out for you. And with the Eclipse farm, breeding horses is sure not for the faint of heart. There's so much more loss than I guess you'd think of if you say, oh yeah, I'm going to breed my horse. It can be, pretty devastating. And we kind of, unfortunately, we say, oh, well, we have this many coming this year, but the likelihood of having that many at the end is, not always realistic. We had a great year last year, and we've already had 2 mares that we were expecting to have babies that for one reason or another are not this year. So it definitely comes with some heartbreak along the way. But we're fortunate that these two businesses that we have are pretty complementary. There's definitely some seasonality to what each of the farms do, and they tend to mesh pretty nicely together. The Haile Equestrian Center, we get really busy at the start of any kind of school semester with new people looking to get into new extracurricular activities, new horses coming in for boarding, things like that. We're always the busiest in those after school times and on the weekends, and there's a huge commitment to it in the summertime. During summer camp, there's not a lot of time left for the other business, so we need it to be going pretty smooth over there with our staff. Whereas the Eclipse Sport Horses Farm, we get very busy during breeding and foaling season, but fortunately a lot of our commitments there can be done in the morning, so we're able to mornings there, afternoons at the Haile Equestrian facility, and it all works out pretty good. So but we definitely don't have any trouble falling asleep at night. We're pooped. So and that's all I've got for you. I hope this was enjoying a talk for you, and I certainly welcome any questions. So.
Thank you so much, Regina. My
Absolutely.
goodness, what a great overall picture of the business of having a horse ranch or having an equestrian center. Questions?
Dr. Esterman, do you mind if I take down your share? And I don't
Oh,
know,
absolutely. Go for it. Yep.
are you able to turn on your camera?
Absolutely. You can see my messy desk in the background.
We want to see the mastermind behind all this wonderful.
Well, so my office, one thing that we don't have a lot of out at the Haile Equestrian Center is storage space. So I have this small office that doubles as where we keep all of our cleaning supplies and just things we want the kids to stay out of. So.
Well, I'll throw out a question for you, Regina.
Sure.
Of course, we're expecting to be out there in 2 weeks from today, but what do you expect for us to see out there, and what should we particularly look for as just a novice person from a continuing care center?
Sure. So when you come out, we're going to have some horses up that, we'll give you a little grooming demonstration and give you a chance to brush on some of the horses if you want to. We'll give you a tour of the farm, show you the different facilities, the different arenas. We'll introduce you to a few of the horses. And then you'll have an opportunity to feed some carrots and stuff if you want to. The horses love carrots, and the easiest thing to bring is just regular full-length carrots. The horses grab them really easily and just pull them right into their mouths. We're also going to have some demonstrations for you. We'll have a couple people out riding. We've got somebody that's going to give you a jumping demonstration, and then another one that's going to give you a Western riding demonstration. We are, a farm, so expect, some dirt and some sand. Wheelchairs and stuff are welcome. Just I know I push a stroller around sometimes with my kids, and they get a little tricky to navigate through some of the spots, but you certainly still welcome. I just saw a question come in the chat about apples. The horses love apples, so you're certainly welcome to bring them. They're a little bit harder to feed. You have to hold it steady in your hand while they bite off pieces of it, and it makes a little bit more of a mess. If you don't mind, the horses love them. I like to joke with the kids that come out that that's how applesauce is made, and they are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's how they make applesauce." But yes, you're welcome to bring apples. They're just a little trickier to feed.
Any other questions? If not, speaking of the field trip, I have some information for all our participants on Zoom here that will help you make a decision whether or not you want to participate in going to Haile Equestrian Center in 2 weeks. First of all, it needs to be made very clear that the only people who are eligible to go on this field trip are registered in this class as residents at Okamic. But if they're out in the town, they can easily go to the Equestrian Center with their own cars. But of course, the best way of transporting our residents here is with our own bus. So here is some information that I want to share with you. First of all, the program will be entirely outside, right, Regina?
That's right. Yeah, we do have a barn. The barn area is concrete, and it is in the shade, and we do have plenty of shade around where the riding will be done, but it is outside on kind of dirt and sand terrain. So.
My point being, please dress accordingly in case of cold weather in February, which is not unusual. Walking around the center is largely on unpaved ground, not conducive for scooters and wheelchairs due to sandy areas. A restroom facility is a handicap access porta potty. Did I say it right, Regina?
That's right. And the reason that we have a porta potty is the county will not allow us to put any kind of septic out here. And they told us to tie into their sewage system would cost about $100,000.
Oh,
So it's not my cheaping out on you guys that we don't have a real restroom, which we're just not allowed. So.
okay. And for the riding demonstration viewing, standing by the fence is best, but chairs will be available if so desired for anyone who's getting tired of standing or walking. And you will have time to get acquainted with the horses, and carrots will be provided for participating people to treat the horses. Now, here's some important information, and all of you who are watching right to the end of the class today are going to get first shot at this. The sign-up sheet for the OCAMIC transportation bus will be available today at 11:30. That's after our class, 11:30, after we have time for Julianne to get back down to her post. And it will be at Julianne's desk. The bus can take no more than 18 participants. 18 is the limit. So it'll be first come, first served. That'll be the appropriate priority. We will have a wait list possibly in case of no-shows on the day that we depart. If nobody shows up that signed there, then a wait list person can be brought into point. So there'll be room for 18 signatures. And then after 18, the 19th and the 20th will be no-show or wait list people. So that will be at 11:30 today and will be left there until the time for the show. The departure time for this will be 9:30 a.m. That's half an hour before the 10 o'clock class. 9:30, that gives us plenty to get boarded and get over there. And then return promptly at 11 o'clock. We finish the program, and that brings us back here in the neighborhood of 11:25 or 11:30 at the latest, 11:30 a.m. So put that on your calendars if you're interested. I think, we've learned so much about the horse industry in the first 3 weeks, and today the business is just, it's huge. I never knew, and now I understand why it's a 24/7 days of the week, 24 hours a day business for you. Any other questions before we sign off? Next week, our presenter will be Kylie Robertson. Kylie is a riding instructor at Haile Equestrian Center. She will talk about her experiences as a competitor in advanced equitation, hunter jumper, and baby green divisions. And then I imagine Kylie will be there in person for the demonstrations, do some of the jumps. Yeah. Okay. We hope to see you again next week. Diane, you have a question?
I have a question, yes. Okay. You said that the sign-up sheet would be at Julianne's desk. Is that in her office?
I'm going out to the concierge desk after this call.
Okay. Is it possible to just send you an email?
Yes.
And have our name put on the list?
Yes.
Great. If you could do that right now.
Okay.
This is putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, John?
Absolutely.
Sure.
And I might have missed this. I was trying to gather it all. I feel like in the last couple of weeks, we learned about all these different types of horses and the work that they do and the skills that they're best at, from the Ocala area. Did you say what kind of horses you have? Do you have all of the different kinds?
we don't have all of the different kinds, but we do have a variety of horses. A lot of the horses that we use for the riding lessons are going to be quarter horse types. So quarter horses, paint horses, Appaloosas. There's exceptions to everything. There's bad quarter horses and there's great, of other breeds that you don't see, represented at our farm. But as a whole, quarter horses tend to be very even tempered and mellow and just make great horses for people who are learning. So we have a lot of those. And because we have that sister facility breeding those warm blood type horses, Hanoverians and Oldenburgs, we have a lot of those in our lesson program as well.
I have a question. For those of us that are coming from town, where exactly are you and how do we get there? For the on-site visit?
What area of Gainesville?
13th Street, we'll say from the university, say on University Avenue.
Sure. You know where Tower Road is, which is 75th Street?
Yes, I do.
Come out Newberry Road there, come out and
Yes.
turn left there at the filling station. And that's Tower Road. Just go
Okay.
south on Tower Road.
Mhm.
And it'll be a couple of miles that you'll go down there. Wiles Elementary School
Okay.
and Kannapahaw Middle School are major footprints right there. The traffic light there at Wiles Elementary School, you can see the beautiful white fence
Okay.
surrounding the Equestrian Center. You can't miss it.
Okay. So you just turn there at the light, turn to the right.
Yeah. And
Okay.
people here from Okamic, if they choose to want to ride in their own cars, because maybe there wasn't enough room on the bus, would simply go down Williston Road and go out to Savannah Point there, the traffic light there, turn right, and that's called Dead Dog Road or 62nd Street, I believe it is, and it becomes Boulevard. But take that over to Archer Road, turn left and go up to the Haile Shopping Center, the public shopping center, which is Tower Road and Archer Road, and turn right and go about a mile and you'll go past Kannapahaw Middle School and then you'll see Wiles Elementary and you'll see the beautiful white fences again, turn left and go into the entrance, and you can't miss the entrance because it's well marked and you have a nice entrance to come in and park. There are parking places there. Right,
Okay.
Regina?
That's right. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, that's it for now. And we want to thank you again, Regina, for being on Zoom today. And next-
Absolutely. I'll tell you, I thought I was expecting to be drilled like when I was in grad school giving seminar. You went really easy on me today.
It may be above our pay grade. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you next week again when Kylie will be on Zoom talking about her adventures as a performer and instructor. Thank you again, Regina. Have a
Absolutely.
great week.
You too. Thank you.
We'll save all our questions for when we get there. Thanks so much. Stay well, everyone.